steps, death and possibility occur in threes. So I would put a prayer request in the box back there for my son, who I am worried for. And then I went over to the Science of Mind book, and I closed my eyes and I set my intention, which I often do, and opened the book to the random page that will speak to me. And sure enough, it did. I looked for my answer and I received it, and you know what it was? It said, the law of the mind says, put your thought out there, it will happen, and imagine and visualize that. And I thought, duh, this is basic for y'all, but I never do that. And I thought, I gotta just picture it in my mind. And then I came over and I sat down and I looked at my sheet of what I was gonna say to you all today. And there's number 3. And here we go. Listen deeply with me to these words of wisdom. First, from Ernest Holmes, the possibility of further human evolution works through our imagination and will. The time is now. The place is where we are. This was the one that got me. Second, from Estelle Frankel, one of the essential tools of faith is imagination. Every journey into the unknown requires imagination, the ability to see things that are not yet visible or manifest. That's it. So let us all affirm together.
I use my imagination to co-create a world that supports all life.
Thank you. Very well. And please welcome Reverend Dr. Kathleen Johnson.
Imagination, one of our spiritual tools. Had you ever thought about it that way? It is a spiritual tool. It is a reminder of universal law that surrounds us 24/7, takes the impress of what we imagine, what we think about, and brings it into manifestation, just what we did a little bit earlier, but something to remember on a regular basis, the power of imagination. So, on the edge of the possible, that's what we're focusing on today. And there's a story about Henry Ford, who had this idea of an engine, what ended up being the V8 engine, and he just put it down on paper, handed it to his engineers, and said, okay, I'd like you to create this. And they looked at him and they said, that's impossible. There's no way that we can create that. And he said, he looked at them and he said, what did he say? He said, produce it anyway. And so we now have the V8. I mean, it's something that came from that. The V8 engine motor. I'm having trouble. I'm going to take this off. This is not working for me. Okay, here we go. In fact, I'm going to take this out because I'm getting reflection.
It's a good reflection on you?
All right. So Henry Ford then, what did he do? He stood on the edge of the possible. He used his imagination. He put it down on paper. So there was an action that went with it. It wasn't just all in his head. And then he spoke it into being. He told them, go ahead and produce it. And it came into being. There are so many things that years ago were in movies. I mean, think about some of the things in the old science fiction movies that we're doing now. So many things that have come into being. We, as individualizations of God, have this amazing potential and possibility. capacities that are beyond our imagination. And I was thinking of some of the Olympians, you know, who just do amazing things like backflips on skates and and other kinds of, and all the twirls up in the air and landing down on the edge of their skate, and so on and so on. There are so many amazing things that we humans have done, and there is more. There is more. We all hold that same potential in us. Each one of us has vast, amazing potentials and possibilities. And don't give me, well, I'm too old for that. You know, don't give me that. Or I'm too young, or whatever your excuse might be. We are sitting on a gold mine of potential, each and every one of us. So the mental blocks that get in the way, that's not possible. That's a mental block. Or getting stuck in fear, or getting stuck in outrage, which has happened a lot in this day and age, from what we see on TV and read in the newspaper. So in God consciousness then, and today I called upon united consciousness of a group which is so powerful. Amazing things can take place. I'd like to read this quote now by Howard Thurman, because you're probably wondering, well, those two quotes weren't by Howard Thurman, but I wanted to say this one for right now. He said, of the great number of people who feel outraged over what seems to be a terrible miscarriage of justice, how many do something concrete about it? Right? So again, of the great number of people who feel outraged over what seems to be a terrible miscarriage of justice, how many do something concrete about it? All energy is exhausted in such remarks as how awful, what a tragedy, something ought to be done, and so on. You know, you probably know your own version of it. Again, our emotional reaction to situations causes us to adopt measures that bring quick and temporary relief from the immediate pressures on us, but do not have much of an effect on the situation. So having an outrageous statement or feeling outrage and stopping there doesn't change the situation. That's the bottom line. Somehow we must find that which is big enough, he says, to absolve us from ineffective methods for increasing welfare and well-being. This means the large view, the great faith, which will release the vast courage. I think I need some water. Somebody might get me some water. Oh, it's stirring up some good stuff in me, and So he's talking about the ineffectiveness of just plain old outrage. Thank you, Monica. And then there's something that happens when we are in outrage over an extended period of time. It's called outrage fatigue. We exhaust ourselves, and then what we do is then we say, okay, I'm just not going to deal with it anymore because I'm exhausted from it, instead of moving into action. So he's calling upon us to have a larger view. He's talking about using our imagination, which is what we did earlier. A larger view of what's possible, to focus on that, and then have great faith in universal law, to take the impress of that and to bring it into manifestation. So a great view and a great faith, which will then release vast courage to move into action and take, therefore, real creative steps toward justice, if we're thinking in terms of justice. So that's one piece. That's one piece of it, is turning that outrage into energy that we can use to take real action. The next part is the power of united consciousness. And I love that we got a chance to experience that before I even started talking about this. Ernest Holmes, at a dedication of a church in Whittier, California in 1959 said, "There is a law of good, there is a power in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. And it will multiply its effects 1,000 times through the united consciousness of a group." He was speaking to this new church that was being dedicated, the people that were in it, and reminding them of the power of united consciousness, just as I did earlier today. And that's why it's so good to gather, why it's so good to gather, and so good to also practice what we teach together. Focus on a common vision. So beautiful. So we have these two great mystics, Howard Thurman and Ernest Holmes, calling us to a higher level of being, calling us to live what we teach, not just to talk about it, think about it, read about it, but actually bring it into action in our lives. It begins within, yes, we have that inner work, and then it moves us into action. So living on the edge of the possible then is about stretching us beyond our habits, beyond our fears, and beyond our assumptions. You know, that idea of, well, that's impossible. Beyond our assumptions, and therefore into a place of courage, creativity, and I love this idea, spiritual audacity. So turn to your neighbor and say, I have spiritual audacity.
And so do I.
Yes, you are. Pretty
Yeah, it's important for us to have a little levity with all of this, right? Okay, so what would happen then, do you think, if we sustained our vision, this beautiful vision of love and light that I just gave to you, that if you practice it every day, we get the whole community engaged, what could happen by the end of 2026?
Big things.
Big.
Yes, it's beautiful. Okay, so together then, we have this multiplying force that can bring forth love, justice, and possibility. And I'd like to share just a few things of even just two people or just a small group of people coming together as well. I think about our Power of Eight circle because that's one of the things that we do. It's united consciousness that's involved in the Power of Eight, where we all focus on one particular person. And this last time we focused on the planet Earth. We really focused our intention on healing consciousness on the planet Earth. And Jesus said, where two or more gathered, there I am in the midst of you. It's just a reminder again of united consciousness. Prayer partners, so powerful. So if you don't have a prayer partner, I'm not going to ask you to identify yourself if you don't, but if you don't have a prayer partner, I encourage you to find one from this community or somewhere else and meet with that prayer partner at least once a week. Work with a practitioner. That's another way of creating united consciousness. So we have several different opportunities. Our World Healing Service at the end of the year, powerful united consciousness. And not only our community, but other communities across the planet are also doing the same thing at the same time, focusing on transforming the world. So we have opportunities here, and we can make opportunities, we can create opportunities to bring this idea of united consciousness, which is exponential, it multiplies the effect. I was thinking about some of the things that have been developing over the past couple of years, and how Mary Kegelman, Candace, and I have been focusing on things like social justice. We've been focusing on the planet, and sometimes it seems like, well, we're praying, and what is all of this that's going on? But what I do is, rather than focus on what doesn't seem to be working, to start noticing what is working and what has transformed. And so I think environmental justice across the planet is a really big one. And so we've been focusing on clean air, clean water, and clean earth. Here's a huge demonstration. The European Union in 2025 generated clean power to generate more electricity than fossil fuels, which was, the experts say, is a major tipping point for them. 11 countries now have 90% or more of their electricity that comes from renewable energy. 11 countries. And some of them would maybe surprise you. Paraguay, Iceland, Albania, Bhutan, Nepal, Ethiopia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Norway, Costa Rica, Uruguay, and Brazil. And then there are many others that have made vast changes in their structures and are living on renewable energies more and more and more. And I know our country has gone up too. I know there are some blocks right now. I'm not going to deny that from the current administration. But what I know to be true is this, again, is an opportunity for us to step in with a united state of consciousness. Put it on your prayer list. Take some time just after you do the big circle of love and light. Maybe add to that the clean air, clean water, clean earth. Add that to your imagination. Can you imagine a planet that has all of that going for it? So again, we have a powerful opportunity here. So I'd like us to take a moment now and close your eyes and envision a graph with a continued upturn in renewables representing the United States. So it's a graph where you can see the line graph, and it's going up and up and up despite what might be going on in this country. And now turn your neighbor and tell a neighbor, the action I am taking toward sustainability is. See what happens, what comes out of your mouth. You might be surprised. So the action I am taking toward sustainability is.
Protest. That's it. You go out there nicely.
There's composting, there's recycling, all kinds of things you could do.
Items and stuff that's sustainable, particularly our families really focus on Pizza's good too.
All right, let's come back to center again.
At the airport.
All right.
Nice
Beautiful.
graphic, Dan.
Yeah, I was thinking too that many of us have taken part in some of the demonstrations and so on, and have seen some changes take place as a result of that. I was kind of overhearing one of the conversations. So the idea is to live as if the universal law is listening to you, because it is. So every thought, every word, every action that you take is planted in universal law. You are an amazing being of infinite potential and possibility. So notice what you're thinking. When you notice you're thinking and you're going off in some negative direction, bring it back. Use your imagination for what you want instead. So it's a constant pivoting. I understand that because we have to retrain our minds not to go down the rabbit hole of ain't it awful, and instead hang out in what's possible using our imaginations. So as a spiritual community, we are not here to just be comforted by possibility. We're here to create from it. And science of mind and spirit reminds us that there is a power greater than we are. We can use it, not just for personal healing and prosperity, but for creating a world that works for all. And so united in vision, let's fly. And so it is.
So it is. Let's fly.
What could I do